Further reflection, what have we learned doing Craigslist? Well, during Katrina, people used our site to, specifically our New Orleans site, they repurposed it. The idea there is that survivors let friends and family know where they were headed on our site. Friends and family asked where survivors might be located on the site. And within a day, people were offering survivors, places to live. Not bad. And then within a day or so after that, people were offering survivors jobs. That ain't bad. This year, I worked with a bunch of other people doing social networking to talk with Homeland Security and FEMA about what can we do using social networking to do a better job of this. And what I found, which is what I found during Katrina, and in a lot of other ways, is that sometimes you just get out of the way. And in our case, we trust our community to do the right thing, and they repurposed the site appropriately, and that worked pretty well. Our tech staff created a Baton Rouge site because they saw a lot of people heading there and just created that without asking. And that's a way to run a company. There's some risk there, but the rewards, if you have good people, are disproportionate. But the lessons were reinforced that, we trust our community. People are overwhelmingly trustworthy and good. There's a tiny percentage of bad guys out there, and you got to watch out for each other, and people do on our site. The idea is that one of the core members of America's most trusted news team, Jon Stewart, he says that basically you hear more from extremists and so on because moderates have stuff to do. By the way, I should warn people that I do suffer from something I've blogged I call ACS, which is Attempted Comedy Syndrome. My blog is seenumark.com, and I do reflect there that the syndrome seems to be Y chromosome linked, which unfortunately, again, is only halfway a joke. You'll see that in the last hours I've just blogged while I'm here the frightening poster you see with the line drawing of me on it. But there I also blogged an item of great concern to people. Last week I mentioned that the girlfriend back home was terrified by what she thought was a vicious possum in the house. I blogged that a couple days ago I actually saw the creature and took a picture and blogged that. It turns out it's a most ferocious mouse. And of course she'll be giving me crap about this in the near future. But that's something I blogged earlier today, actually, and we will have to look into the matter. But the deal is that the creature is ferociously adorable, and I need a good name for it. End of tangent right now. But the deal is that doing this 13 and a half years or so, what I can see, and I've worked with thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people directly across the country, in Canada, because we're still mostly a US and Canada site, frankly, is that I've seen that people overwhelmingly through the country share the same values. We do have disagreements at times, but we do share the same values overall, and that whether you're in a small town or a big city, people want to help each other out. People want to treat people like you want to be treated. If someone's talking up the differences between people, they're exaggerating it for their own benefit. Because again, people through the US and Canada share the same values for the most part. Our disagreements are small. If someone's exaggerating the disagreements, they're trying to get your attention for some reason. And if someone's trying to pick a fight along those lines, they don't have good intentions in mind. And that's something we've found consistently. Again, small town values versus big city values. In New York, I find people willing to help each other out a lot. If nothing else, I find in New York is actually a collection of small towns in the form of neighborhoods. I'm there a fair amount since I have family around there. And for those of you who have read that the baby strollers have taken over Park Slope, that's true, But that's good for me because I'm terribly fond of babies, and the most fun I've had today was someone who had a baby in the hotel. I have found that if you just sway back and forth, if you're a baby about 4 or 5 months, that's fascinating. And the baby had a lot of fun, including drooling. The drooling was the baby, by the way, not me. I don't do that very often. Outside of Craigslist, well, reflecting just in the last few weeks, I've realized that what I've done at Craigslist and what I'm now doing outside of Craigslist, I'm a community organizer. And community organizing is perhaps the best way to follow through on values like grassroots democracy. That's the way you can do it for real. And I'm an online version of it. The advantage there is that I don't have to get off my butt to do it, which I find terribly attractive because at heart I'm kind of a couch potato. But I figure I might as well follow through on this because Jim and I, we started the Craigslist Foundation some years ago, but it never got anything or did anything until this guy Darian Heyman got involved, and he turned the foundation into a group which is really good at helping other nonprofits help each other better. That is, we run like the nonprofit boot camps, the function of which is to, well, it's like a Saturday, a whole bunch of classes on basics. For example, grant writing. For example, how a nonprofit might pitch itself more effectively. In my industry, the internet stuff, VCs, venture capitalists talk about elevator pitch. The notion is that you need to talk about what your group does, what your organization does, in a minute or less. And that's for real. If you're talking about your efforts, whether a nonprofit or a for-profit, you need to be able to articulate what it's about very quickly and cogently, otherwise they'll stop listening, even if they're polite enough to go through the motions. And I'm afraid my greatest fault is my own impatience. So I do remind people of the need to speak with that kind of brevity. And that applies to pretty much everything we do. So that's what the nonprofit that we run is about. It's almost that simple. In let's say this is the 8th, so in 10 days I'll actually be giving a brief talk at our next nonprofit boot camp. Beyond that, Darian is also building a foundation website, which he hopes will be the go-to site for all nonprofits who are looking for really good online resources. We'll see how that goes. But the deal is it looks like it really has a great shot at it, and that will help out people then potentially in the millions, and that ain't bad. So we're doing that kind of thing, working out real well. Beyond that, see, I'm not a real member of the philanthropy world in that my skills are elsewhere, my communication style's elsewhere as an engineer. I like to find things where people are doing small efforts to get stuff done. I don't want to abuse the word too badly, but I don't really want to be a do-gooder in the unfortunate sense where someone who means well but doesn't get stuff done. Again, I'm an engineer and I'm not patient. So what I do is I find efforts which appeal to the sense of mission I have as a kind of community organizer and which has a chance of getting stuff done. With this Craigslist stuff, nothing altruistic, nothing pious about it, nothing noble about it. We're just doing what feels right based on, I guess, what we learned in school. We're just following through with it now in a very conscious way, and that seems to work out. Beyond that, I'm trying to take this sense of mission I have, I guess, this idea of, online community organizer, which tends to work pretty well as long as I don't have to get off the sofa very often, and or the highly ergonomic computer chair, and just trying to follow through with these things. Not as big a deal as people sometimes credit me for or credit the company for. It's just some sense of what our shared values are and following through with that, and then following through some more.